Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. I would like to call this meeting of the Las Vegas Arts Commission to order. It's 3:30 p.m. on January 21st. I'm Chair Polly Weinstein. I'd like to ask the clerk if we are in compliance.
Yes, we are in compliance.
Okay, thanks. Would you please take roll?
Sure. Chair Weinstein.
Here.
First Chair Shefsick.
Here.
Second Chair Abelman.
Here.
Commissioner Alvarez. Excused. Commissioner Diener.
Here.
Commissioner Carpel. Excused. Commissioner Michaels.
On the phone.
Thank you. Commissioner Ogilvie.
Here.
Commissioner Trimble. Excused. Commissioner Tupaz. Excused. Commissioner Zachman. Excused. And you do have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask all the commissioners when you're going to speak, please identify yourself for the record. Let's get started with number 3 on the agenda. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. All right. Sorry.
Public comment. You want to see if they want to?
Is there, yeah, please, public comment?
At the end, right?
Yeah, and you let us know now that you're going to be speaking of them. Great. Thank you. All right. Number 4 on the agenda, possible action to approve the final minutes by reference of the regular meeting of the Arts Commission of December 17th, 2015. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
I approve of a motion. Make a motion.
Second?
Member Abelman, second.
All right.
Need to vote?
Oh, so I'm good. Sorry, I'm getting a little lost today. All in favor, vote.
Aye.
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 All opposed? Great. Next up, number 5 on the agenda, report by the Arts Commission Chair regarding the monthly summary of current initiatives, cultural events, and opportunities. We have a couple great things that the Office of Cultural Affairs wants to talk about. Mardi Gras celebration with the Mudbugs, Cajun, and Zydeco Band. That's happening at the Charleston Heights Arts Center, February 6th at 7 p.m. It's a Saturday. It's a $10 admission in advance and $15 at the door. So it's a family-friendly event. Cajun food, up-tempo, get-on-your-feet fiddle, and accordion music. And should be a good, contagious Louisiana dance hall style party show. Something else here. The Rainbow Company Youth Theater Program presenting Voices from the Sagebrush. That is happening February 12th and 13th at 7 p.m. and February 13th and 14th at 2 p.m. Tickets are $5 per person. It's happening at the historic 5th Street School. That's on 4th Street. So their next the next installment of the Rainbow Company's Youth Theater Award-winning Nevada series before it hits the road, traveling to schools in Clark County this year. So check that out. Rainbow Company, long-standing Las Vegas cultural tradition. Next, we have the Dana Leon Trio. This is happening Saturday, February 20th. 7:30 p.m. Tickets are $10 in advance, so $15 at the door. Also happening at the 5th Street School. Dana Leon blends jazz, classical, and pop to create a signature sound. His pioneering collage of musical styles has garnered critical acclaim, and wowed audiences around the world. And he's collaborated with many top jazz artists, including a lot of people's names I can't pronounce, and Yoko Ono. So check that out. That's happening Saturday, February 20th. I know that there's a new show at the CAC has just opened in the Amanda Harris Gallery at in Soho Lofts, and I'm not sure if anyone knows the hours on that. I'm not sure of them, and Mark's not sure of them.
No.
But it's a wonderful show, and the opening was a packed packed with everybody. Everybody was there. It's featuring a lot of great artists. So definitely check that out. Does anybody else have any cultural events going on they want to bring up?
Me?
Yeah, I'll go for you.
As Commissioner Shevchik, there's always stuff at the university. The current exhibition at the Donahue Gallery is going to close. Next week, there's a closing reception next Friday. And it's work by students from UNR. And then we begin with our MFA students. So there's always something going on. Thank you.
Very good.
This is Commissioner Ogilvy. On January 29th, Brent Holmes' exhibit, Anonymous Refuse, will open at Winchester Gallery at 6 p.m. And on Thursday, February 11th, the Public Art Committee is bringing out the directors from Art Prize, which, if you're not familiar with Art Prize, it's an international art competition that takes place in Grand Rapids, Michigan, as well as Dallas now. And for approximately 19 days, artists from all over the world descend upon this area, and art pops up all over. And people can go there, and if they are within a specific the square mileage within the footprint of it, they can actually vote on the best art. And their phones are geocoded. I mean, part of the Art Prize phenomenon is they have a software platform that somebody can vote, and they can't go back in and vote again. So it's a singular phone voting system where they vote on the best artwork, and the artwork gets a prize. It's a rather large event. Over 400,000 people attended the last Art Prize, and the Public Art Committee would like to find out a way of replicating that here in Las Vegas. So if you're interested, I encourage you all to attend. That is, again, Thursday, February 11th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Where did you say again?
It's going to be at Winchester Center, the theater, and it's free.
Your directors come.
That's it.
Yeah,
you
it's just
tickets or anything?
no, no tickets. Yeah, just come on out.
Very good. Thank you.
Um,
Commissioner Abelman.
I have something that I attended last night that I think is back on the board. Eric Strain's doing Slide Slam again, and I think it's really a great art collective. I don't even know how you describe it, but artists from all walks of life come together and they talk about 6 minutes, roughly, 20 seconds per slide, and they kind of give an insight into this. And his next one's going to be February 17th. Highly recommend that you attend it. I think that the collaborative experience and the conversations that ensue are really, really important to this community. Last night it was David Hardy, Catherine from Enchanted Forest, Ryan Reason, and what's Ryan's partner's name? Anyways, from Square Shooting.
Jennifer.
Jen
Yeah.
Burkhardt, thank you. And then Eric from the School of Architecture. And it was really amazing to see those types of different arts communicate with each other. And I just can't say enough wonderful things about what Eric can bring to the conversation of the arts in the community. So I highly recommend it.
Great. Thank you. Next, number 6 on the agenda, the report by the Office of Cultural Affairs regarding monthly summary of current initiatives.
I'm just going to talk about one project since we have a fairly full agenda today, and that's a project that's starting soon for New Commission at the West Las Vegas Arts Center. It's a project suggested by John Trimble, and he's going to be involved as kind of a representative of the Arts Commission, but I'd like to ask any of the rest of you who are interested in participating in the project to let me know, and I can make sure that you stay involved in whatever way you'd like to be involved. It's going to be a signature piece, hoping also that eventually we will find a way of improving the visibility of the entry into the Arts Center. I don't know if you've ever been to an event there, but the first time I drove out there, I passed the driveway like 3 times. There's quite a bit of traffic and a lot of really terrific facilities right around the Arts Center. There's the library, and there's a community center and a senior center. So there's a lot, and parks, and a lot going on, and this piece might also help to create a better entrance to the Art Center that's a very lively place. So let me know, please, if you have interest in that. it's a $75,000 commission, and it was, as I said, sort of brought up in August and approved at that time.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Okay, and Rebecca Holden with Cultural Affairs as well. On my end, I'm continuing to assess the status of the artworks and the city's permanent collection and addressing the maintenance and repair component as well. We have also had some meetings to update the artwork mapping components we've got in place right now to make it a more mobile and user-friendly device operating system. And we do currently have a map in place, but we may be tweaking it and updating it. And that's something that we may want to bring up with the Publicity and Marketing Subcommittee as well. And then the aerial gallery is in the works. Banner locations have been tentatively selected, and the equipment will be ordered soon. And we have our workshop next week on Saturday, January 30th, 1:30 to 3:30 at the Fifth Street School for the temporary public artworks. That's it.
Can we make sure to post that on Facebook, someplace like that, so we can share it, the workshop?
Yeah, and the city has tweeted it out as
Oh, great.
well through theirs. Yeah.
Thank you.
And we email it out too.
Mhm.
Are we continuing to use the Arts LV hashtag too when we use social media? Just out of curiosity. Huh?
I don't think they know.
They don't know?
I think
The arts, we use it to aggregate. We talked to the PR marketing department about using a certain hashtag to aggregate anything arts related. So he was just asking if we're still using that. If you know.
as far as I know, yeah, the hashtag ArtsLV is still in place. I believe we've got it on. Oh, no, we don't have it on here. But yeah, I believe the PIO knows to use that on all of our publicity for that.
Great. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to item number 7. Discussion for possible action regarding changing the time of the regular meetings of the Arts Commission to 3:45 p.m. and the subcommittees of the Arts Commission meeting to 2:45 p.m. So we're just bumping the meeting down 15 minutes. We'd like to make it, I'd like to make it a little later. Someone else would like to make it a little later. Kind of tough to get out of our day jobs and leave it in the middle of the day, but the best we can do is 15 minutes later. So this would be something that we would discuss and potentially take action on.
And I'll just say that I did at the last meeting say I would ask the city clerk, Luann Holmes, if she would come to this meeting and address that issue. She cannot be here, but she did email me. I can read her statement if you would like for me to.
Sure.
Okay. She said, I understand from my staff that you would like to move the meeting start time from 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m., and that would not be a problem with our office in the least, as long as the meeting ends by 5:15 p.m. and my staff has time to issue parking validations and clean up after the meeting and leave by 5:30. However, if the meeting is any earlier than 3:30, you need to check with our clerks to see if we can accommodate the request on our calendar, because we have an earlier time slot for our committee meetings. As we host an average of 247 meetings a year for 23 different boards and commissions, we must balance a very accommodating schedule for 23 different boards with the minimal use of overtime, as we do not have an extensive overtime budget. With the understanding that our limited resources are not equipped to work into the evening. So she said, if you want to move the meeting to 4 p.m., you need not have me attend the meeting. I have a conflict. You have it. However, we cannot accommodate another board holding meetings after 5:30. So that was the question I'd asked. Can we go back to our original 5:30? And they can't. Now, she said 4 o'clock. We had talked, Jenny and I talked internally, and we thought, well, we put 3:45 on here because that still gives us the same meeting time. So I'm not sure if that helps anybody or not. If you want to move them to 4, what I would say is that we would not approve this item, and then we put another agenda item on the next agenda. But this one is for 3:45, so that would be the vote.
And the Commissioner Weinstein, and the thought there is that we have a few more minutes if we do it at 3:45 rather than 4.
Right, at 4 we have an hour and 15 minutes. And sometimes that's fine, and sometimes it's not fine. It just depends on what we have going on. We used to have them from 5:30 to 7, so we've cut these minutes down, the meeting times down dramatically.
Do you feel we need that extra 15 minutes?
Some days we might, some days we might not. You just never know. I always say it depends on how well the committees are working. If your committees are doing work outside and making committee reports, you don't need to spend this whole meeting time debating things that really should be taken up in committee work. But we only have a limited time for the committees to meet. We have allocated at 2:30. We have an hour allocated before each Arts Commission meeting once a month for our committees. That kind of segues us into one of the next agenda items, or our standing committees. If every committee was meeting regularly, they wouldn't be able to. And if your committees can't meet, you can only get the work done in this meeting if you need a longer meeting time. There's only so many ways to slice the pie. Stacy, are you still on the phone?
I am.
Okay. So, you're the one that really brought this up and asked the question at the last meeting. I'm thinking maybe if...
I did. Obviously, moving it back to 3:45 helps. My preference would be 4 o'clock, but I'll take what I can get.
Gotcha. Maybe we want to do... So I would say the vote would be, if people really agree with the 4 o'clock, then we vote this one down, and then we'll put the new meeting time on the next agenda.
All right, should I make a motion to take a vote?
If there's any other discussion.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of moving?
Chair Weinstein, what is the vote? The motion that you made?
The motion is to vote on moving the Arts Commission meeting to 3:45.
And the subcommittee meetings.
And the subcommittee meetings to 2:45 p.m. So all in favor?
You need somebody to make the motion. Chair, can you just ask someone to? She could. Okay.
All right, will someone make a motion? Take a vote?
Just say so moved.
So moved, all right. Still working the kinks out.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Right? Just my second meeting, still working on it. All in favor? All opposed? Nay?
Okay.
All right, we like.
Takes care of that.
So next month we'll put a new agenda item on for a later time.
For 4 o'clock.
For 4 o'clock.
Unless you want to take action on this
Can we?
item.
Can we take
Unless,
action?
or unless you want to get more input from the other members of the Arts Commission. So
Can we take action on the 3:45 and then try for 4 o'clock next month?
they, Member Stacy, they just took action on the 3:45 and it was voted down.
We voted it
I
down.
didn't hear the result.
Oh,
It was voted down.
Opposed. We all opposed it to make it later.
Well,
It's the board's pleasure as to what
well,
you
then I'll
want.
make a motion to start our meetings at 4.
Right.
And
Back up our committee meetings, our subcommittee meetings to 3.
Is someone to second that motion?
Second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, that motion passes. 4 o'clock meetings it is. All right, let's move on to number 8 on the agenda. Discussion for possible action regarding the membership of the Arts Commission subcommittees. So we had talked a little bit last month about having everyone reach out and note what committees they want to be on. We have these lists in front of us again of the standing subcommittees and who's on them. So what are we going to do? Talk a little bit about who wants to be on what committee?
I have a question. Did you hear back from anybody?
No one.
Okay, not one person?
No.
Because normally what we would usually do in years gone by, annually, we would vote on new committees. We did it every year. But we haven't done it at all this year because we took on a lot of new commissioners. We thought now's a good time to just re-up everybody's interest. So I'm thinking if nobody contacted you, then everybody's perfectly happy with being on the committees they're on. But that's the question for the new people.
Yep.
Is it a possibility that some of the new members might like more information to make sure they know what they're getting into? Maybe we should discuss them more, or are they pretty clear cut? Like
Well,
public-
you're the only...
Yeah, this is
Well, you're the-
I'm good on
you're
it.
the-
I actually thought I was going to be on the education committee
Yeah.
because I had talked
We'd
to
already
Jen
done, and that was already approved.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
so
right.
your name belongs on the education committee.
Okay.
Sorry, it's my fault, it's not there, Mike.
Okay.
We need someone new on the PR and marketing committee. You can't have a committee of one, right?
Right. But you can if you're comfortable with that, Molly.
I mean, not particularly, not a very interesting meeting.
What do you mean?
Can I just say,
you want
maybe what we could do is send another email out with a little description of what each committee does, and just wait and then put it back on the agenda for next meeting.
Because I'm thinking public arts should have, advisory should have some kind of members and some kind of description of what they're going to advise on and how that looks.
It's a really good point.
And project development too, it's like what projects need to be developed? Is it the ones that we're working on?
Well, that should be new project development, and that's the committee that came up with all the projects we're working on in this fiscal year. That was the August meeting we had in council chambers.
Yep.
That's that committee. So, but a little description about each one is a good idea. We'll do that and email it back out and put it back on the agenda in February. Does that sound like a plan? I would also like, if it's okay, Madam Chair, this is Deaner speaking, I would like to bring up that what we had talked about a little bit on the phone. Some of these committees, some of them, we don't need full-blown committees on everything. At least that's my opinion. The clerk's office may very well have an opinion on this, and Jerry may as well. For instance, the West Las Vegas Arts Center's project, the Gateway Project, which was one of the projects that John Trimble brought forward. We all approved it. Jenny just mentioned that we'll start working on it. Wouldn't it be possible, instead of having a committee that has to carve time out of this room and the clerks to have any kind of discussion, would it be possible to just have one representative from the Arts Commission side, in this case John Trimble, be the representative for the Arts Commission on this project? Would that work? Otherwise, as we get all these projects going, we're going to have so many subcommittees built, it would be impossible for any of them to meet with any consistency.
So
So
John,
have a representative, basically.
So I think it'd be like a liaison. I mean, we do the projects, right? But the Arts Commissioners definitely want to weigh in. So when it comes time for the West Las Vegas project, John Trimble, because he brought it to us, he's from that neighborhood, he represents that neighborhood, and he's a big champion of this project. He would be the one that would be working with us, weighing in on, helping identify artists, coming up with different things. He would be the representative for this project. Otherwise, we form a committee of 3 or 4 or however many, and we have to fight for that 1 hour a month with all these other committees to have a meeting. And it's just almost impossible to get the work done.
so you're saying it's more efficient to let him kind of
Be the spokesperson.
facilitate it in a way that is either a spokesman or
Right.
delves into it. That makes sense to me, really.
Nancy, can I get some clarification? This
Sure.
North Las Vegas, what is it
West
called?
Las
Las
Vegas
Vegas
Center.
Arts Center.
Gateway project.
Gateway Project. Is that a formal committee, subcommittee of the Arts Commission?
No.
That being the case, you don't have to have a committee
Okay.
just to have Art Commission represent. Otherwise, you're
Absolutely.
taking it away from the West Las Vegas
Super.
Arts
Yes.
Center committee, whatever that is. I don't even know who created that committee or formed that committee, but it wasn't formed by the Arts Commission. That being the case, you don't have to have a committee for that. You could just
Because
assign a person or
We
appoint a
do
person.
have, we do have ad hoc subcommittees. We formed one for the Main Street project because the Main Street project is multi-year, multifaceted, big project. So we have a subcommittee on the Main Street. Mark chairs it. And so, but that I see in my mind is a very different animal than all these other projects that they're coming up quickly. And
Okay.
I think to myself, it's just almost untenable if we have a gazillion committees out there.
I agree.
So,
So
okay.
just, the only time you need to comply with the open meeting law requirements is when you have the Arts Commission create a subcommittee.
Okay. And the Arts Commission did create this subcommittee.
And I can understand,
Yeah.
due to the magnitude
Right.
of the Main Street improvements,
Right.
that you wanted to have a subcommittee consisting of Arts Commission members.
Great.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
However, if you just want to have a member be a representative of the Arts Commission to attend a city working group out there.
Our staff. Yeah,
Our
work with our
staff.
Right.
Working group, you may do so
Great.
without having to comply with open meeting law.
Okay. Well, does everybody agree with that then? Thank you, Mark, for weighing in. And
Hello?
Hello, Stacy?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I thought you said hello. I
Do you have a
was
thought on that,
being
Stacy?
polite.
I'm sorry, what?
Did you have a thought on that? Sorry.
I'm having someone take part in this on behalf of the city.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about the West Las Vegas. Yeah. So we'd like to appoint John Trimble to represent. Not even an appointment, just say if everybody's in agreement that he would
Oh
represent.
yeah, I'm fine with that. I think it's a great idea.
Because it's covered under the project development, right? The West.
Well, the new project development committee just needs to, and we'll have that again in June or August, whenever it gets scheduled, to just go over what new projects we might want to do with the following year's budget money.
Okay.
And some of the projects that were voted on this year will carry over, so there may not be even new projects. That committee really meets like once a year to talk about that. It just happened that John was on that committee and he brought forward that project, but others brought forward their projects too.
So this way he can come back and share with us as a
Sure.
commission.
Right. Well, when we have items on the agenda, like we'll say West Las Vegas Arts Center Gateway, and then Jenny or Rebecca will say, well, we're doing this, and then when you question things like, well, why didn't you pick that arts? At least one of you and not one of us is speaking to it and saying, no, I worked with them, I represent the Arts Commission basically, and what they're doing is okay. That makes sense. I'm an odd man out here. I wear two hats. I'm staff, and I'm a voting member of this commission. Makes it very difficult for me at times. Because oftentimes, really, the staff do these projects. Right, Michael? But I know that some of you think, well, maybe we're not doing them quite right, or maybe we should be doing this, or maybe we should be doing that, or have you thought of this or that? And that's what your role is. So this way, one of you is involved with us in doing all of these projects.
Yep, this is Jenny Strayer. Actually, we had been talking about how well it seemed to work when former Chair Grogan took that role informally when we were looking at the Main Street signature piece. So, for instance, he chatted with many of you in person at the event at 5th Street School the night that the artists made their presentations. Some of you sent him emails sharing your thoughts, and that seemed to be kind of an efficient way of facilitating communication among all of you that could then be funneled back to us.
I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. We're not trying to do anything sneaky here. We're just trying to make it faster and more efficient to get the work done. So, sounds like we're in agreement.
Yeah, do we need to take any kind of vote on
Do we need to
appointing?
vote it?
It doesn't sound like you're taking any action on the membership of the Art Commission subcommittees.
Yes.
No.
Okay,
That
well,
you're going to, you directed staff to come up with definitions of all
Right.
the subcommittees for
Correct.
the commission members to consider
So
at the next
we'll
meeting.
hopefully we'll vote on the new committees if there are any changes at the next February meeting.
And so no action is needed because
No action.
all you're asking is a commissioner to take a little more active role, right?
Right, but that one commissioner basically be appointed from this body to represent each one of these projects.
Yeah. It was his little, yeah.
Yeah.
It was he championed the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
all right, well, let's move on to the next agenda item, item number 9, discussion for possible action regarding an overview of the Arts Commission's funding.
This is Patricia Harris, the Office of Cultural Affairs. The Arts Commission receives their funding from currently 2 different funding sources. One is the general fund, where there is money allocated out of the Office of Cultural Affairs budget for the Arts Commission. Your budget started at a little over $49,000 this year. As of today, you still have in that account $40,324. And the percent for the art arts funds come from capital improvements budget, where the budget for those capital improvements come from the general fund. The beginning balance for unappropriated funding to that account began at $308,420. You appropriated $115,500 for this year's projects, which leaves you a balance of $89,014. You do have appropriated from the Percent for the Arts $500,000 for a signature piece for the city. Did I go too quick?
What's left in our bank account today?
Not a lot.
$40,324 of general fund money. Much of that has already been committed. $34,000 of that has been committed. $14,359 of that money has not been committed. So in general funds, you have a little over $14,000 that has not been committed. Of the money that has been appropriated out of the Percent for the Arts, you have $60,000 in reserve for maintenance of your public art pieces. So you'll start out the new year with a little over $89,000. Now, that fund is funded on an annual basis. There have been some years where we have received money, and there have been some years where we have not received money. I'm not going to know that until closer to June as to whether we will have any additional funding to that account before the new fiscal.
I brought this up, this is Commissioner Ogilvie, just to talk about funding sources. And the CIP fund, as Patricia just stated, is inconsistent funding. There will be years where we will get money and years where we won't. And I would say that the trend, especially with CIP projects, is we're going to get less and less. It's not going to be something that, it'll be always something that happens, but on a smaller and smaller scale. So it's essentially a dead revenue source. The OCA fund, we'll probably be getting that perpetually, but it's nominal. It's not going to make projects happen. So I was curious if there are other funding sources that can be sought, other tax revenue sources. And I say this based off of the county approach with what they did with their percent funding. We have 5% that comes from the room tax and 5% comes from the ad valorem tax. And if the room tax is low, the ad valorem tax kind of makes up for it. So there's always this kind of consistent stream of funding going to that percent fund. And it wouldn't be a bad idea for this commission to seek another funding source so that we have a more stable fund for future projects.
I'll just jump in and say, when you're talking about room tax, you're talking about the LBCB money. And so, and I thought the county was very smart to set it up that way. I'm sure Chris Giuliani people kept on and came up with it.
Yes.
Because that was a good pot of money. You guys have a lot of money because of that.
Yeah.
When our Percent for the Arts ordinance was enacted, 10, 12 years ago, we were only looking at capital projects, and that's all we got funded on. And it's not just capital projects, it's capital projects funded through general fund money. If it was capital on federal dollars, we'd have a lot of money. So in order to go back, and I knew when you got your ordinance how that was funded, and I did some more digging into it. The city as well gets money from LVCBA room tax, and I forget how much it is. And it's designated, it has been this way for years. The percent that's designated to the city comes to the city for parks and recreation. Now, I could be very unpopular and say, we'd like to carve it out for cultural. Why not? Why change now? But it would be a real uphill battle to do that because they've used that money historically to build parks and put park amenities in, so that's tough. But we also do get some money. I've been able to carve some money out of that. So, but it's really hand in hand. And it's tough. So it's a point well taken. I don't think politically we would have a chance at changing that, but I like how you think. I'd love to be able to say, hey, because you've read Will Scott Adams, can we just take it away from Parks and Rec and give it to cultural? Or maybe let's look at the dialogue.
Are there any other possible funding sources? I mean, you put in the parking meters recently, I'm sure there's a bit of that revenue that goes to the city. I mean, I'm curious,
Right.
has anybody can investigate other possible funding sources that can be accessed?
I'll send an email. I mean, I'm happy to send an email out to my bosses and say, this was brought up at the commission. Any advice, please? I'm not smart enough to know. I do know there's a lot of talk about the parking stuff, but parking is such a hot ticket item here that I think that if anything, it probably is going to do more parking. I don't know. And you may know this, Michael, and I've done some public speaking about this. Not too long ago, I spoke at this conference down at Inspire Theater, and I've done other public speaking on the idea of looking at marijuana tax statewide for the arts, not just for public art, though. I'm looking for a dedicated funding source for the arts in general, because it isn't just public art, all the arts need it.
Yeah.
And this community needs it, and I would love to be able to give grants like most cities do, like Reno does for sure, but we have no money to grant out. So organizations like Contemporary Arts Collective, one of the best, most long-term, most worthy visual arts organizations in this community, is hanging on by a thread. If we had the ability to grant, they could at least count on possibly having some grant money and whether they're going to be around. So, you know what I mean? It's a very interesting discussion. I've been looking for some way. I've looked at everything I could possibly look at to come up with ways that I could present some justified way of a funding source for the arts. I think a precedent was developed when the Smith Center was built and they got the vehicle auto tax rental money. That was a first. That was really groundbreaking to do that, and it worked beautifully. So I'm open to all suggestions. Everything's political, but the time is now for this community to do that. Because I will say, if we have another recession, or not that we're going to, but if something happens, man, we're toast. And you know what I mean? You really need to look at some funding source, some dedicated funding source for the arts down here. So, points well taken. If anybody thinks of anything, and I will inquire. Maybe there's probably a lot I don't know. Money anywhere. So, because I can tell you our budgets aren't going to be flush this coming up year. It's not going to be a rosy budget season. 2 cents.
Commissioner Abelman, something you want to add?
I think this conversation needs to be kept alive because it really concerns me going forward. You said it too, where it's like if something happened, we'd really be up a creek. And so I don't know, like the pot index tax, I mean, or pot tax, what about fuel indexing? I mean, where is that money?
I think that goes to build roads.
Then that's it.
I'm not, again, that would be a question for Jorge.
Okay.
Don't know.
And then the money from the LVCVA goes to, a little bit, goes to Parks and Recs for us, and that's instead of the arts, as opposed to for...
It goes to Parks and Recreation programs, and that's really an umbrella term, but it's basically been used for years to develop parks and put amenities in parks and recreation programs.
And Public Works has been pretty generous with us, right? I mean, we've been pretty lucky that way.
All our projects now are funded through Public Works. They've been wonderful partners.
They have been very good. So
and that'll continue as long as they're doing road projects.
We need to nurture that relationship more than I guess.
Well, talk about fuel indexing, I think a lot of the money comes that way. So as long as we're really getting it in a roundabout way.
Right. That's what I was wondering, because it goes there and then to...
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just concerns me going forward for us as a city that we don't have more money allocated for public art because the need for us as a entity to lead by example creates a concern for me, so that because the public follows us that way. So I really think it's an important topic to keep going.
And also it's important, this is Commissioner Ogilvie, it's important that we have our own funding source, because that allows us to drive the projects and not Public Works.
And that's an important point. I mean, I agree with you, Michael. We're luckily we have great public work partners, but that could change any time. We don't know what's around the corner. It'd be nice to be the drivers of our own car. But at least we're in the car and we're going full speed ahead. So.
But we have no gas.
We have no place to park it.
What do you mean? We have
Man, we look nice in
$40,000.
All right, well, if there's no further discussion on item number 9, we'll move on to item number 10. Discussion for possible action regarding an update on the Main Street Improvement Project, Ward 3.
Well, I'm just going to jump in, and I know Jenny's going to jump in, but I'm just going to say one thing really quickly, and that is that, as you all know, the project has been kind of delayed a little bit. How do you like that? I'm just going to read to you. The Main Street starts as scheduled, but the project duration has been extended. Originally, it was thought that the entire project would reach completion within 18 to 20 months, but due to the complexity of the work, which includes relocating power transmission lines, it will take longer. First, there's utility work, followed by installation of drainage, sewer lines, then reconstruction of the infrastructure, and finally landscaping and amenities. The ARC component will be installed at the end of the project, which will be 2017 or 2018. Don't really know yet. Jenny, that's the whole Main Street, but when we talk about the signature project, I'll turn it over to Jenny.
Well, actually, we've been making, Jenny Strayer, sorry, making some good progress in our discussions with our friends at Public Works and purchasing and contracts to try to figure out creative, productive ways to deal with some of these extensions. We're looking now at the possibility of doing a 2-part contract with Lou for the radial symmetry project, in which he would be receiving some funds during that first phase to engage a structural engineer and to work very closely with Public Works so that they can feed him information from the site as it's being developed. And because this is such a complicated project, we're working with the best information they have available to them at the moment, but that changes sometimes day by day. And then once the first phase of that contract resulted in enough specificity to write the second phase of the project, in which we could say the piece will be exactly 15.5 feet in diameter. It's going to be made of aluminum as opposed to steel. It's going to have this variety of footing. Our lighting is going to be located in these particular locations. Then that will be kicked in, and that will allow him then to purchase this material and have about a year or so to fabricate the piece and work with a variety of subcontractors to get it installed. That looks like our best option at the moment, and we're working productively toward that goal. Same thing with the benches, the phase 2 of Gail Simpson's benches. We're probably going to end up fabricating them and storing them and then having them installed after the rough work is done on Main Street, because it's going to be, all kinds of things are going to be happening there, and we feel better about waiting until the site is calmer and we're at a point where the work is not going to be damaged in some way by what's happening around it.
All right. There's no other discussion on item number 10. We'll move on to item number 11. Discussion for possible action regarding an initiative for artisan-produced works for medians in Las Vegas. All awards.
I'm going to just pipe up again, I'm going to pipe up again, then turn it over to Rebecca, who's spearheading this project for the Arts Commission. I was contacted by Jerry Walker, who is our brand new director of operations and maintenance. I think he's been a director maybe a month now. And he's very interested in wanting to know if there are artists that would be interested in doing work in the medians. So we went, huh? And yes, of course we are. Anyway, there's parameters involved. They have some medians coming up quickly, that they would like artists to put work on. Now, the work that they want to put there obviously has to be metal work. They're looking for metal work, welders or some kind of metal work. They have many medians. They have money that they would normally use to fabricate. They're willing to give that money to the Arts Commission to hire artists. What Jerry said was, we would love to have an artistic piece of some kind of metal, iron sculpture in the medians. That would be great if they can work within the budget we have. So they would do all the work, they would design it and fabricate it within that budget, and we do the installation. And we'll give them the specs of the footings that they, or whatever it needs to be attached, and we'll work together on it. So to that end, Jerry has been emailing us back and forth with, and he just talked to me the other day at City Council, and he said, we have a median project coming up on Birdnell and Oakey, and that's when that, we'd like something there within the next 2 to 3 months in the spring. Do you think you guys could do something? So I'm going to Rebecca to say what she's done, the people she's contacted, and where we are at with that.
Yes, Rebecca Holden speaking. So yeah, at this moment we're still working out a few details, but I have contacted a few different artists and asked if they would be interested in participating. So the Desert Sculptors Group has at least 5 artists that would fit into the parameters of what we're looking for. Chris O'Rourke, I did make a call to him. He's interested as well. And then Rizzo Logic, you're interested as well.
So what we're really doing is trying to find out. I mean, there'll be many medians. I don't know how many. And they're small, medium, and large. The budgets are not big. The range is something like $3,000 for a small median to $25,000 to $30,000 for a large median. Not big. So this is one of the projects that we need to fast track it. We need to jump on it if we're going to do it. So what it would be involved is if you guys can identify, and Lisa with your help, maybe we can come up with artists that might want to work on this. We would like somebody from the commission to be the representative on this project, to work with us on it. And then we'll get their vendor profile into into purchasing, and we'll be on down the road with it. So there's it has to have a theme, nothing. They just are looking for something that's kind of artistic or whatever would work. It's not a lot of money, but it's something.
How much was it?
The small medians are around $3,000, $2,500 to $3,000. The big medians, $25,000 to $30,000. And you know what? I wish I knew. So I sent an email to Jerry asking him right before this meeting, we talked about, we need to know, but I haven't heard back yet. This looks big to me. I don't know.
That's good size.
Yeah, it's big. So I would say probably this is considered a big medium.
And just to be clear, this is a movie. They're going to actually provide, the artists are going to create blueprints, and Public Works is going to fabricate it?
No, the artist would be given the money to do everything.
Gotcha.
They would say, here it is, here's my horse with me on top of it, a steed, and I'd like it to go in this median.
Okay. And is that call to artist going to be put out, or is it just going to be a direct select?
We'll probably just do a direct select.
Okay.
If we could get a pool of artists because call for artists are good to do, but we don't have time for this.
Yeah,
This is
takes a while.
Yeah, we only have a couple of weeks. We have a fast track project. We have a fast track group of people that are already in our system, and in our system meaning in purchasing with their vendor profile, all the data that we could go to for this. And we may very well do that. I think it's Zach, but he's in New York most of the time. Sean Russell is one, but he does 2D work. Maybe you'd be interested. Who was the other one? There was Zach, Sean, and Domsky. They do glass. We can't do glass. So it's kind of like that. I mean, it's like that group of artists who are wonderful are maybe not right for this medium project. Maybe they are. But I think that there are probably a lot of artists in the community that might be able to. And I'd had some conversation with Rizzo, and I don't know, maybe now's the time that he could maybe speak to this a little bit, or maybe I don't want to put you on the spot.
My background is...
Can you come up here, please, sir?
State your name for the record.
Russo Logic, Executive Director at District Arts. My background is $100 million of installation in Las Vegas since 1994, and project engineering and theme engineering and design. So something like this, understanding what you were saying there about you would be offering embedment or attachment points to the artist, and then the artist would go ahead and align themselves with those embedments or attachments.
Evidently, yeah, that's what
Yeah, and then to collaborate, to offer as much opportunity to UNLV MFA students. I have Sean Russell for class twice a week, by the way, we're in contemporary art. But yeah, this is something we could probably get you sketched out and on budget within about 3 weeks.
Well, who's we?
City, this Las Vegas community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
I would like to work with Jerry.
So what we need is a list of artists that can do
Yeah.
this. And I think we should probably contact the fast track artists in case, Sean may be able to do this. I don't know.
I could work with Sean on this.
And there are many of these mediums.
Mhm.
So it's like we need to get it out to many people.
Yeah, and, as long as you're doing site surveys ahead of time, so you're ahead of like the problems that you're going to have with the Main Street project. I talk to Lou on a daily basis, and as long as you can get your site survey information collected ahead of time, that would probably be the most difficult part of the whole project, is to get them to go out and survey underground and find out what's actually in the ground there before you get to it.
I'm positive that they already know that when they do these. They know
Okay.
it. The city knows it, I'm sure. They
These are
probably
newer
do.
neighborhoods. Yeah, newer neighborhoods is probably no problem with older.
It is an older neighborhood, but I'm sure that they would already know that. But
Mhm.
that would be onus would be on the city to furnish that information absolutely.
Yeah.
So if they have that in hand, then it would not be hard to do
Mhm.
one. So,
Yeah, we have to absorb the soft and hard costs for this. We have to do the design, and I've got a background in CAD engineering, so I could probably do 90% of the soft costs on this and oversee that.
so Russo, what about other artists? I mean,
That would be great.
yeah, and there's other mediums. You work with a lot of artists.
I know everybody.
You have your nonprofit.
Yeah.
So there are, because Paula, you thought of Chris O'Rourke. He's doing one for the county, I believe.
Yes.
James Henniger
James Henniger.
and Stephen Ligori.
Stephen Ligori, yeah, we think he's out of the country. We're not
He's
sure.
not.
Is he just he's not responding to any phone calls or emails?
I'll tell him. He'll respond to my phone call.
Okay.
I mean, like, the best way to do this is to network these resources of the city, whereas Lou has availability to a water jet. In a guy's backyard, there's a water jet facility that's cutting his whole patterns for his whole thing. So he can go ahead and Sean Russell can oversee design and
Well, so what I'm saying though is that then you would be a team that would work on this.
Absolutely.
So if this was a median that was, I don't know, let's just say it's $25,000, then the team would get the $25,000 and then the team would come back with the object. Okay. So that may be a way we go, but we have other medians too, so we need to identify others too, because there's many more coming up, little ones and big ones and medium-sized ones.
Sure.
Solve the options.
The city does. All the city needs is for the artist team. The Arts Commission needs to weigh in on the design. That's our function here, really, to say, yeah, we love it. Then the team goes forward, they make it, they present it to the city installs and maintains it.
city offers an attachment point, and the arts would align with that attachment.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other? Thank you.
Thank you very much for
So
applying.
we'll get Jenny will get back to you.
Okay, good.
Jenny will get back to you.
Rebecca, actually, then.
I mean Rebecca.
Yes.
Sorry. But if anybody, so we need to make a list of possible artists.
I know a bunch I can send you.
Okay.
I'm working with 10 for the center project. I'm sure all of them would be interested. Chris O'Rourke's piece is already prefabricated, so I'm sure he's eager to get on to the next project.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot. For that project, we had 33 applicants, and all of them were pretty strong. So.
Yeah. That's what we really need. We need, and it's not, like you said, not a big budget. I know Chris O'Rourke had contacted me one time, and he had a piece, he wanted to get out of his garage.
Yeah, it might not be enough for this, but
And he wanted a lot for it. I was like, oh, sorry, but,
I should sell that for the child labor project.
yeah. But anyway, so and you know, I think that getting back to the Desert Sculptors, long time sculptural group here, that's great. I was thrilled to know that they were still around. So I think we look everywhere and come up with a little committee, and you know, maybe Paula, you could pick someone to kind of be the representative from the Arts Commission working with us on this project. That's kind of what we need.
Yeah, it depends who's interested, and
Yeah.
we don't have quite a full house.
I know
today.
we don't, so if we want to do that next month,
Yeah.
then we could do that, okay. Okay. And maybe we'll add that to our little meeting, our notice about the committees. Yeah, okay. Are there any other questions on that?
Perfect fit.
Yeah. Thank you, Riza.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
All right, item number 12 on the agenda, report by Kathy Thomas Gibson, Office of Community Services, and discussion for possible action regarding programs and outreach efforts for the homeless. All wards.
Before Kathy starts, I'd like to just say that at the last meeting, I'm sorry that Dave Tukas isn't here, because Dave brought up this notion of doing a project, putting homeless people to work, repairing and cleaning public art projects. Obviously, it's pretty good to you. I'm just kidding. But that kind of is a much bigger discussion. So Jenny and I met with Kathy and Steve Parsons, who were with Neighborhood Services. They work on all the homeless projects, and we had a very good discussion. Kathy kindly said she'd be willing to come here and just discuss what they are doing right now, so everybody kind of understands what is already being done, because a lot of people don't think really anything's being done, and actually there's a lot of programs out there. Drum roll, Kathy.
Drum roll. So I'm going to, if the clicker doesn't work, I will be.
There you go.
There we go. Let's back up a little bit. Okay.
You want to turn the light off a little bit? Some of the lights? Is that easier? Let's try.
Okay, my name is Kathy Thomas Gibson. I'm the manager of the Office of Community Services, and we are charged with one of the city's 4 strategic priorities, which is addressing homelessness. So I'm going to whiz through a slide presentation that was actually developed for managers and directors at a leadership retreat that we had back in October. But because it's a very good overview, it gives us an opportunity to share that information with all of you, so that if you have more detailed questions, I can address them later, maybe, or in some other format. But just to give you an overview of what's currently occurring with the city. So what we know right now is that on any given night, there are over 7,500 homeless individuals on the streets of Las Vegas, right? We actually do a point-in-time count. I'll pass out some information. So that's why we know that snapshot of 7,500, because we counted them one night, and that's how many we counted. Over the course of a year, you'll have over 34,000 homeless individuals experiencing this either chronically or as a one-time result, but having to access the services. We do have a large number of unaccompanied minors, children who are homeless on our streets, and many of you have heard of the work we've been doing with veterans, so I'll hit some of those highlights as well. There are 2 parallel efforts happening. The city has its own homelessness advisory committee as a result of the 4 strategic priorities being encompassed by the City by Design effort. There is also a regional effort that has been ongoing for quite some time called you'll hear it called the COC. That's the Continuum of Care. And that is a regional entity that has all jurisdictions and dozens of stakeholders engaged. The city's Homeless Advisory Committee is pretty large, 31 individuals, all walks of life, faith-based, business, not-for-profit, first responders, hospitals, etc., so that we could have really a very broad conversation. We also have several members from different departments within the city on this committee as well. Some guiding principles, I won't, read all this, y'all can read all that good stuff. Basically, we said, look, we're going to connect the street homeless in the urban core to housing and services, and that's important because there are homeless all over southern Nevada. The resources and the infrastructure to address homelessness isn't quite where it needs to be, and so we needed to focus our efforts. And so when we say urban core, we're talking downtown, Fremont Street, Cultural Corridor, Corridor of Hope, and I'll tell you what the Corridor of Hope is in a moment. Those 31 members of the city's Homeless Advisory Committee are broken into 5 working groups to address 5 key categories. What are the services that are out there? What housing is there available? How are we going to hold each other accountable and measure our success? Is there funding? And what are the public safety issues that we could address through better planning, better use of the physical infrastructure that we currently have? So we've been meeting maybe 9 months down. There are some successes. I have some help cards to give to you today. What we discovered is there are lots of folks who are homeless that don't know where to access services. We assume that they are choosing to be homeless. We haven't met that person yet. What we've met are people who don't know how to plug into the system, people who have burned all their resources, including their personal and family networks, and people who are mentally ill or substance abusers. So we know, for example, that the shelters feed 3 times a day. There's no reason to pass out food on the street. They stagger their meal times so that they're doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It is wholesome food. It is safely prepared. I don't know how you prepared that tuna at your home that you're passing out, or the peanut butter sandwiches that you're passing out, but we know that the institutions that are listed on these cards that I'll pass out in a moment are checked by the health district. They are required to meet several standards, etc. So not only can you get food, you can get plugged into other services. A lot of folks did not know that. Homeless people didn't know that they could do that. What we needed was a web shelter, so we contracted, actually West Care applied for community development block grant funds because the existing shelters won't let you come in if you're drunk or high. Well, we feel like it's better to get sober and clean in an environment where people are medically trained and who can then connect you to other services than to be drunk and unruly on the street. So West Care applied for that, and they will be opening a 20-bed wet shelter where the chronic can go in, dry out, get connected to services. We also fund Housing First program, where individuals, regardless of their mental health issues or anything else that would prevent them from being housed, can get housed. That's with a contract with Help of Southern Nevada. Several of the jurisdictions pay into that contract. And the important thing about Housing First is that there's intensive case management to help homeless individuals address their barriers to living stably on their own. We have a drop-in center with Veterans Village and Homeless Helpers. Folks homeless people trying to get to appointments have no place to store their personal effects, so they don't make their appointments. You cannot get on the bus with 5 trash bags. You cannot even go into Clark County Social Service with your rig. A rig is the shopping cart with the tarps on it. You can't take that rig into any place to get services. They won't let you bring it in. If you leave it on the street, somebody else is going to take it. And so if all your world is contained in those 5 shopping bags, then what do? You don't get help. So this drop-in resource center is a place for individuals to do short-term storage so they can make service or healthcare appointments, look for a job, have their mail come. Folks have benefits and IDs they can't access because there's no place to mail it, and a coat check. That's the temporary storage. So those are projects that are currently happening. We did not have proactive outreach in our community. What happened with outreach is if I saw a homeless person, I could call one of the social service agencies and say, hey, there's a homeless person on the corner of Bridger and Main, and they say, okay, we'll get out there on Tuesday. Okay, but it's Thursday. So what happens between Thursday and Tuesday? They didn't know. So we now have proactive outreach where, just in the urban core, not all over the city, where the Fremont experience and in the downtown areas, including the cultural corridor, where we have a proactive outreach team that divided up into grids and they canvass, right? Because you don't have to wait for homeless people. You can just walk the streets and find them. And so we're doing proactive outreach so that we can find out why homeless folks are not accessing the services that are currently available. We also partnered with the Salvation Army to do a month-long awareness campaign, once again, because we shouldn't presume that homeless people or the general public know where services can be accessed. I won't go over these numbers, but basically the bar is telling you how many people CARE Act contacted, and the red tells you how many of them rejected those services. So yes, folks get offered services all year long, and there are a variety of reasons why they reject them. I won't hit these because I know my time. I'll make sure it's not in your backup to get you the numbers so you can see. They're checking for veterans, for seniors, how many children they encounter, etc., so that we have a good idea of, at least within the urban core, who makes up the homeless population, because there are a lot of stereotypes. It's the old guy who's a bum, quote unquote bum, and that's not who makes up our homeless population. We have a significant number of seniors, significant number of families with children, significant number of veterans, and so we wanted to understand better what that was about. Our partnership with the RTC and Salvation Army was an outdoor media campaign, again, covering a very well-defined area so that when we gather data, we can literally geocode it. So we know where the homeless problem is, and we know if we do an intervention in that area, that the results are telling us something about a very well-defined area. So they did some campaign, some advertising really, on bus shelters and trash cans to tell folks, hey, you can come here for help. They had a 300% increase in the number of calls that they got. The campaign happened in October. By November, they could track that they had a 300% increase in the number of calls. So we know that if we tell the community, here's where you go to help, they'll call and ask for help. They just don't know where to call. They had a 4% increase in the number of women accessing emergency shelter, 12% in domestic violence, women survivors seeking help. They had a 44% increase in new website visitors. So these may not have been homeless individuals. They're just regular folks like us who did not know about the services, saw the campaign on the bus shelters or the trash cans, and went to the Salvation Army's website to get more information. We were one of 4 cities where they were doing this work. We have also in-house done 3 PSAs to address the issues of homelessness, the unintended consequences of street feeding, how to donate wisely. What we have is people go down on Four Master, throw a box of clothes out on the street, and folks start fighting over it. And then there's a bunch of trash left that our rapid response team has to clean up. And when we say to people, don't donate that way, they say, you're trying to hurt homeless folks. We're like, no. What's dignified about throwing a box of food or clothes out on the street and having folks fight over it, and then someone else has to come clean up the mess? So we've been trying to say there's a way to ensure that your resources go directly to homeless individuals, and those 3 PSAs that were created in-house address those. When we have more time, I'll be happy to run them. One is featuring Deacon Tom from Catholic Charities about the unintended consequences of street feeding, Major Ponsler from Salvation Army to talk about donating wisely, and our Ending Veterans Homelessness These are all formerly homeless vets that we work with U.S. Vets and CARIDAD to identify individuals who had used the services and are now no longer homeless. We're also working on a master plan for the Corridor of Hope, which is this area, loosely Owens, bookended by the dairy on one side and North Las Vegas, etc. So that's the map. And as you see, a lot of the existing shelters are in this area. By the way, you walk up the hill, you're in the cultural corridor. So this is half a mile away from most of the area you're referencing in your work. And you know, as I know, that folks walk up and down between the library and where Reed Ripple was into this area. The design community of the 31 members on our homeless advisory committee, we have several architects, landscape designers, artists, and they created their own little subcommittee and said, we'll host a community charrette to talk about how we can use this space better physical traffic flow, more welcoming, so homeless individuals will know they can come there for services. Our first charrette was last week. We'll be doing a series of 3. We'll make sure you find out about the next 2. The initial charrette was just the pie in the sky stuff. If we could do anything we wanted to do to improve this area aesthetically and functionally, what would that look like? And so we had planners and architects help facilitate a charrette session to kick that discussion off for us. We are getting ready to survey the street homeless. So after the point in time count, where we just count them, we're going to interview street homeless. Because we don't know why they won't go into the shelters. We think we know why, but we don't actually know why. And what we've discovered is that when surveys are done of homeless individuals and families, they're done of the ones who are in the shelter already. Well, are the folks who choose to go in the shelter fundamentally different from the ones who choose not to? We don't have any empirical evidence to tell us that one way or the other, and so we may not be making the best policy decisions or resource allocations to serve the chronically homeless that are on the street and are quote-unquote choosing to stay on the street. So we're actually conducting, with Applied Analysis and CARIDAD, a street homeless, I'm making a distinction, street homeless survey so that we have a good idea of how decisions are made or why they make the decisions or what's the problem in the system. We always call them service resistant. Well, maybe the system doesn't serve them well, and if we want to get them off the street, we're going to have to engage them in the process of ending homelessness. So that's Mayor's Challenge. So we were one of 25 cities identified as having a high per capita homeless veteran rate. And we have spent the last year shoring up our veteran service system, and we were declared to have achieved functional zero for veterans homelessness. What does that mean? It means that any homeless veteran, honorably discharged homeless veteran, who wants to get off the street can do so. We have a system that can house them and provide supportive services if they choose to accept it. That does not mean that there are no homeless veterans. It means that functional zero means your community has a system in place to house all the homeless veterans that you have identified. So we work with the VA and HUD. We have a by name list of veterans in our community. We have another 360, I believe, DASH vouchers. And we have 200 and some odd homeless veterans. So all 200 of them that we've identified, if they come in, we have a housing voucher waiting for them. We're continuing this work because new veterans enter the community or new individuals become homeless. But we just celebrated Functional Zero in December. Secretary from HUD and a whole bunch of other important people came out to tell us how wonderful we are. And we're continuing that work to ensure that we will always be able to serve our homeless veterans, and we want to be preventive. We want to prevent veterans from becoming homeless, if at all possible. We have one of our other advisory boards, Senior Advisory Board, holds a toiletry drive for seniors because we have an increased number of seniors who are becoming homeless. Our social service agencies are not necessarily prepared to provide what they need. So they have diapers for babies, but they may not have diapers for adults. Exactly. So the Senior Advisory Council began this past May with a resource drive that is ongoing. You can see the band still here in City Hall, and they are collecting a gang of material. We can't figure out where to store it. It's been so successful. Mainly, once again, an awareness issue. Many in the community were not aware that seniors are homeless and that they need our support. Donation station. There are decommissioned parking meters that the city wraps with an organization's logo, and all the change that is collected in those meters are used to support our homeless services program. So it at one point was supporting the toiletries for seniors, but they're collecting so much now. It also supports the Ticket to Home program. So we have homeless individuals in our community who have a family member that's been looking for them, who is willing to accept them and support them, but they can't get back home. So the Ticket to Home program, literally, you have to call. You say, I've got, an uncle in Chicago. We call Chicago and say, hey, uncle, Kathy is homeless on the streets here. She says she can come live with you. Will you let her come live with you? Because we don't want to send them someplace else and they end up homeless there. Uncle says, yes, I've been looking for Kathy. Please send her home. We put that individual on a bus with a lunch or food, check, petty cash, because Chicago might be a 3-day bus ride, and have Uncle call us when Uncle picks Kathy up from the bus station. So we use the receipts from this program to fund Ticket to Home.
Kathy, is there a donation station out by the parking garage?
There is. It's green. I think that's Moon Ridges, but yes, there's a donation station there. Okay, so that's all the stuff that's going on right now to address homelessness. We have a few more things still in development. We should update this because the charrette has already happened. We were talking about public bathrooms. We're talking about increased transportation services. We're talking about a mobile app for homeless folks. Homeless people do have phones. You've heard them called the Obama phones because it's a Lifeline program that provides very low-cost cell service. And so we're like, how do we have an app that doesn't chew up a lot of data that helps homeless people find out which organization has an open slot for housing, who's hiring, right? So working on a number of things, a hackathon, a policy hackathon to get some creative solutions to a number of problems. We're working diligently on ways to expedite getting an identification. When you already have your identification, you do not realize how difficult it is to get one and how almost next to impossible it is to plug into services if you can't prove your identity. Well, it could take 6 weeks to get the first piece of paperwork, a birth certificate, to start the process to getting some identification. And you cannot get a job, you cannot access some services until you can prove who you are. So those are some of the things we are still in the preliminary or mid stages of trying to bring to fruition. That's our website. Are there questions?
You mentioned a charrette. Are you
Yes.
having another one?
We are having another charrette in March. I think it's early March. That's still in planning stages as well, because the design community leads that for us. We just get the space and they do all the other pieces, and so they'll be taking the information from the one we just wrapped up last week and turning all that into some pretty pictures, I'm sure, and then we'll hold the second one. The intention is to have a series of 3, and after the third one, what we really want is something actionable. Here is a plan that we can actually implement.
To make the corridor
More
functional.
functional. Absolutely.
Would anybody come to the charrettes?
Anybody can come to the charrettes. They're open to the public. And usually we do them at the afternoon, like 3 o'clock to something. 3 to however. So I'm going to pass out some help cards right now. Feel free to take as many as you want. This is the document. On one side, it has like all the offices, you know, City Hall, Clark County.
Are these meant to be passed out?
These are meant to be passed out. I'll leave the whole box here if you want.
Thank you.
We print them by the time. We've got about 10,000 of these out already.
That's great.
What we found out is that homeless people give them to other homeless people. They do not have to trade them for services, but what we've discovered is they think it's a ticket for food. We're okay with that. We don't care how they use it. But you see on the side that says immediate help, those first 3 entities feed 7 days a week. And so what our nonprofit partners have told us is homeless people get in line with this card because they think they have to trade it for. They don't. But it's giving us a way to measure impact because we know they're showing up to the shelters with these cards because they think they have to trade them for services. They don't have to trade them for services. They can go and just present themselves. They don't have to, that's why the entities that are on the card are the ones that have 24-hour, 365 days a week staff person, a human. So if you show up or call, you don't get the press 1 for
right.
Help. It is a human being who can pull you in, get you fed, and then connect you to the right human being for services. I'm also going to pass out this 2-sided flyer about our point-in-time count. We still need volunteers. You all are welcome to join us. Point-in-time count is actually mandated by the federal government because we get federal dollars. We have to enumerate the number of homeless that we find on our street. We also use this for policy, for decision-making. If the numbers are going up, we go, man, maybe our interventions aren't having the impact we need them to have. And so we do it because it says so, but we also do it because it helps us make better decisions. And the last thing, and if I'm talking too fast, stop me, but they said you got 10 minutes to go sit down. And I'm sure I'm over my limit. The regional body, anyone who is interested in being a member of the regional continuum of care can do so. You don't have to be part of an organization. You don't have to bring money to the table. You just have to care about homelessness. And you can apply online, but I brought some hard copy applications here just for reference sake. Please share them with the general community. Encourage others to get involved in the conversation. And sign up online, because what it does is you get the information, right? Even if you never come to a meeting, the information about what's happening regionally for homelessness gets sent to this mailing list. So if you want that information or you know people who want that information, just have them sign up online and they then get on that email blast so they know what's going on, including funding decisions, by the way, which might be of interest to folks. Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Kathy. If you want these, I can read these.
Yeah. I think the more places to get these out in people's hands, that's what their function is.
Kathy, can we talk just a minute also about one of the things that David Tupaz had brought up at the last meeting was the possibility of employing homeless to kind of watch some public art, particularly in the art district. And one of the things that's happening in the Corridor of Hope is a beginning. It's not public art conservation, but there are going to be some ambassadors, right, who are homeless or just having moved from the status of being homeless, and they will be employed to watch over the new public restroom facilities. So eventually, if that goes well, there might be an expansion of that program into performing other functions as well. And so there may be...
There also may be artwork needed for...
Yeah. So
yes. So two things. So we are getting... we're not sure what this is going to look like yet because public work, everyone has to agree but Mayor Goodman has asked us to get some porta potties down in the Corridor of Hope. And so that they're not ugly eyesores, we are looking at having some muralists paint them. So if it's 3 or 4 of them together, it becomes a mural canvas that is a little more engaging than orange neon porta potty. And so we absolutely will want to do that as well. Jenny was referencing our Care Ambassador program, where it's actually not the city's program, but we're pushing our nonprofits to make it happen. There are some Workforce Investment Board dollars that can pay hard to place, hard to hire individuals. And there's a nonprofit that works with formerly homeless individuals as part of their volunteer network. So we're saying, okay, great, get together. Some individuals who are coming out of a training, formerly homeless individuals coming out of a training program. If we could connect these other 2 pieces, then those individuals become the ambassadors who are then paid to be ambassadors. They're not going to be potty cops, but they're really just to make sure that people aren't tipping the potties over or nefarious goings on aren't happening inside the porta potties, and they'll have these help cards, right? So that it's another way to ensure that individuals who need help know where they can go to get that help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll make sure the commissioner who made the inquiry is not here today, but I'll make sure he gets these. And it's all really great information.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, item number
You got it.
Item number 13 on the agenda, discussion regarding topics for future agenda items by the Arts Commission. Comments made during this portion of the agenda by individual commissioners shall refer solely to proposals for future agenda items, and any discussion shall be limited to whether or not such proposed items are within the purview of the commission and or whether such proposed items shall be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of any such proposed topic shall occur, and no action shall be taken regarding the proposal. Do I hear any ideas for future agenda items?
You're talking about Cinco de Mayo? Which one are you talking about?
Morning, sir.
Okay. So,
State your name for the record, please.
Commissioner Abelman. So, what are we thinking? You got to flesh this out with me a little more first before I understand what you're thinking for Cinco de Mayo.
Latin Art Festival, Cinco de Mayo.
Latin Art Festival. Okay, so we put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Suppose so.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion here too, that we maybe, and this is just something I thought, maybe instead of doing it this way, we ask for ideas to come forward to you, Polly, to the chair, for kind of vetting. Not that this wouldn't be on there, but I think sometimes we're going to wind up with so many discussions. Like this was really a good discussion to have for everybody, and a needed discussion. But in reality, we probably could have maybe not. I mean, I'm glad she was here, but it got me thinking about how many things. If everybody had something they wanted on this agenda, we would need 2 hours or 3 hours to get our meeting done. And sometimes some of it can be vetted by you. Then you
Sure.
can say,
Can that be done by email, or do we have to? Things need to be brought up.
I would, Charlie Ponticello, Assistant City Attorney, I would suggest that staff collect the comments from the commissioners and thereafter forward them to you for
That's
you
right.
to make a consideration as to what should go on the next agenda.
Okay.
So we can reword this and just instead of saying, does anybody have any ideas, say, if anybody has any ideas, forward them to staff and we'll forward them to you.
Okay.
Because, there could be many different scenarios that, your Aunt Hattie makes doilies. Did we discuss that? Well, she may make wonderful doilies, but.
And I also have some advice to the commissioners that when staff contacts you via email, that you try not to have any discussions with the entire commissioners on the distribution list, because those would possibly be violations of the open meeting law. So just communicate, if you can, communicate directly just to the staff member.
Don't hit reply all.
That's
It's
one of the
it's
things
also
you
good
can do.
because nobody wants to read all your comments.
So,
All right, so with that, I guess we'll move on to item number 14, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. No subject may be acted upon by the commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Mr. Logic.
There's a Logic, District Arts Executive Director. And I just want to let the board know that, the commission know that we're having the largest international guerrilla arts show ever held in the city of Las Vegas at the World Market Center. And it's in a 6,000 square foot gallery. And with the curators for this, by the way. So it's local G. Depio, Angel Delgado, Jose Jimenez, Mike Wardell, and probably 8 other local artists that got an opportunity to show. What I'm bringing this to you for is I'm getting ready to set up the list for guests to the World Market Center. And if there's any way that you could let me know that you would be interested in going, I can go ahead and have a badge ready for you. There's no registration cost. It's not a gift or anything. I just need to add your name.
What's the date?
It's Sunday through Thursday, and it's at the World Market Center.
This Sunday? Oh, wow.
So maybe everybody knows Mark Abelman. If you could send Mark an email by midnight, I'll take care of it by 1 a.m. And I just let you know, your name and that you'd be interested, and I'll have tickets waiting for you, or badges waiting for you to get in.
What are the hours?
8 to 6, I believe.
And is there like a name for this exhibit?
It's their winter show, I believe. So if you go to the World Market Center website, you'll see all the details and information.
Okay.
So yeah, so we just like to offer that to commission because it is artwork that was created on location here in the Arts District by artists of the city, and it's a pretty big deal for us to get validated as an international art show for guerrilla arts and district arts. So district arts is actually the name that it's under.
Great.
Okay.
The other important thing is Chinese New Year's. Las Vegas Academy is doing a 40-foot Chinese New Year tribute mural, which is in progress right now in the hallway at the art building at Las Vegas Academy.
What about the link?
We had a problem with the link wanting to change the artwork and not representing what the students had created, so we pulled out of it. We had to maintain our integrity to the artist, and so they went 4,000. But anyways,
So will you go see it at the Academy?
you can go see it at the Academy, and we'll also have it at First Friday. They'll be down here at First Friday, the students and the artwork and everything, and they'll be on, Stewart Club. Yeah, it's a 40-foot mural, and so yeah, it's cool. We pushed it on shopping carts.
That's me, it's going to be First Friday.
Yeah. I'm just so happy about it, to get them out there. We'll also be bringing their Life is Beautiful mural, which is another 40-foot mural. Las Vegas Academy, it'll be on display because they finally completed it at school. And then obviously the Hispanic Art Festival that we're talking about. We're starting an Arts District residency program. It's a guerrilla-based program, so you really won't know where the artist is painting. It'll be an artist in public painting on a panel or 3 panels of a guerrilla cage. We'll start off with local MFAs, everything local, to get it's of the soil, okay? And so everything is of the soil that we're doing. And it'll be somewhere in the Arts District. It could literally be on the 3rd floor of the El Cortez parking garage. And and the artist is asked to work in that type of environment and create. And then there'll be a closing reception, artist talk. It may be on location where the artwork's created, so we may bring chairs and a pickup truck full of beer and ice. I'm just kidding. But it will be on location where it's created. So that'll be the closing reception. We have academic residency meetings scheduled for February with UNLV to start creating residencies for district arts, to start involving UNLV into real-world art experiences in the community. So we'll let you know more about that in March. New York has brought Pepsi to Guerrilla District Arts, and we're going to be trying to create art events in the Arts District. And our idea for funding is that you don't get to come here for free, and so we'll probably be trying to find out how to funnel funding from our corporate sponsors directly into city funding, so that there'll be some sort of attachment there that we want to work to make everything stronger. And so we're going to be doing that. I just got text from
You
Agassiz.
can just make sure that they're limited to stuff within our jurisdiction, but outside of our city.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I heard that.
You have a nice long list of
I'm
cultural
done.
events.
Well, 2 more things. I just got text from Agassiz College, and we're doing them on filming night. I'll let you guys know when that is. And then we're working with Los Angeles Nomadic Division, and we're going to start doing our state line crossings on all 5 state borders. So I'd love to have your participation in that as much as you can. That's all I got.
Los Angeles?
Yeah, the land programs out there.
Oh.
The Nomadic Division. So yeah, we're in contact with them. We're in contact with Bacardi and Miami and Mexico. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks very much. All right. If I hear no further comments from the commissioners on any item, I'd like to have a motion for adjournment. Do I hear a motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.